My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. It is Monday, June 9th, 2025. It's 12:07 a.m. and the Ontario Police Department that is gang stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library, following me there, which is evident through the specific environment where I'm documenting repeated encounters with helicopters from place to place in the city of Ontario. The entity is engaging, which is a documented pattern for years, by the way, upon being kidnapped by them. The entity is at 12:07 p.m. at the museum, where the fake moon is over me, and where I'm documenting the entity gang stalking by helicopter at the museum just the other night as well, repeatedly. The moment that I fall asleep. So these are demons that are sitting around stalking me. And remember, they're not just stalking. These are demons who are monitoring. So the demon possessed that are monitoring, they're monitoring your heartbeat. They're monitoring your physical movement. They're monitoring your genitalia. They're monitoring what you eat and what you chew and how you chew it. They're monitoring which direction you brush your teeth. They're monitoring how long you wash your hands. The moment that I fall asleep is when this stalker sounds helicopter activity. And this is when, again, I'm in a position not holding my phone. These are the cowards that are interfering with internet that don't want it published on the internet, okay? This is a creeper who was sitting around in a helicopter, not hiding in a bush, but hiding in a helicopter in the sky space, stalking somebody that is sleeping outside, and is doing so at the moment that I fall asleep to be as less prepared to capture it on video. But I mean, I'm always getting them regardless. They're engaged in very creepy means of stalking, including in helicopter. But the demon stops, in particular, starts the helicopter activity the moment that I start falling asleep. That's demonic. Demons are monitoring, okay? So demons are aware when you're conscious and when you're unconscious. The moment that I slip into that unconscious state with simultaneity, this demon that's a part of the Ontario police that are going to be disbanded, engage in what is flying in a circle over me by helicopter. And then I don't even reach for my phone to record it. And because I don't, the demon engages in taking another lap flying above me by helicopter. And this is the moment that I then get up, since I'm saying, oh, you want to keep flying, then I'll go ahead and get it on video. And that's when the demon flies off. Those are the cowards that are engaged in federal stalking, engaged with the interference. This is why they're being prosecuted as well. It's federal stalking. Interference with the operation of my device in order to obstruct justice. Not just the crime of federal stalking, but the crime of federal stalking to stop one from telling the federal government, hey, the police are stalking me. They're trying to kidnap me repeatedly. And they're gang stalking me, which is a threat to my life, while they're trying to kill me and get away with it. Okay, because that's reasonably what you are engaging in when you are stalking as a whole police department objective. And that's what the Ontario Police Department has demonstrated as a matter of evidence. There is also no purpose in flying in circles over me in the middle of the night, but for engaging in what is a threat, engaging in what is your obsession with stalking me when you're watching so heavily until the moment that you know that I fall asleep. Then you want to interrupt my sleep with the sound of helicopter activity. Those demons are the ones that are going to spend years in prison thinking about how they sought to use psychological torture against the federal prosecutor who's putting them away and disbanding them. All right, that's the full. That's, again, Nathan Morgan's going to federal prison. B. Hook is going to federal prison. You have Elle Martinez. She's on camera at Woodside Senior Apartments on May 29th. She's going to federal prison. And so is C. Torres of the Ontario Police Department. They're all going to federal prison pursuant to the kidnapping that this same department that's gang stalking me. This is what they were doing: gang stalking pursuant to the malicious pattern of conduct of criminal summoning, where the people of the state that are gang stalking right along with them, like I'm documenting on a daily basis, and like I just documented again at Starbucks all day long, engage in what is criminal summoning for purposes of kidnapping. They're going to prison. And the coward, I just want to add in to note, flies off the moment that I reach for my phone to document it. All of this is going on the internet, and it's relevant to how long demons like Nathan Morgan, a domestic terrorist, is going to federal prison. Understand it's directly relevant to criminal conduct of Nathan Morgan. This is an entity that is stalking. This is an entity that is threatening. This is an entity that's kidnapping. This is an entity that's defaming. They act as one. All right. It's currently 12:12 a.m. where the demon engages in that satanic method of interrupting sleep with helicopter activity that's specifically designed to communicate a threat. And that is documented. If that's what the Ontario police want on the record with regard to all the reasons why they're being disbanded, so be it. They're engaging in what is stalking me in a helicopter, doing 2 rounds over me. The moment that I reach for my phone is when that demon, they're not going anywhere. They're still stalking. They just fly off so that I can't hear the helicopter activity now, and I don't see the helicopter flying over. These are the cowards that are engaging in federal stalking, stopping my ability to publish what is on my phone with regard to the 4 videos of them also stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library at the time that I'm working on publishing the kidnapping that this same department committed. This entity, this department, these stalkers, these demons are engaging in what are a series of missteps with regard to even having any intention to appear like they were not the predators that they clearly appear to be, like they're not the monsters that they clearly appear to be, like they're not the demons, and that they're not the stalkers and the sex offenders that they clearly appear to be, as opposed to me just telling stories and then lacking the evidence, or telling stories and then having what I call evidence, but actually not demonstrating anything about what I'm describing. This is not that. Everything that I describe, everything that I have stated, it is clearly shown in evidence. And the entity is, again, putting themselves in prison for longer. They're just going for longer. So in the way that I don't have to make up anything, that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department, you want somebody that is advocating for American citizens whom they target ordinarily and don't say anything, or they don't survive it. This is when they're targeting somebody that is fully capable to do that and more. And this is who they want speaking out against them. And it's going to result in what is disbanding. It's going to result in federal prison. It's going to result in the diagnoses of those terrorist leaders who are going to be removed from law enforcement. That's what they want to wake me up with helicopter for, and then fly off so that they can't. Even though I already don't have 13 videos in how many days since they engaged in kidnapping, the entity is engaging in what is again a series of missteps with regard to a prosecution of a department for things that police departments have never been found engaging in before, proven to be engaging in before, because this system is designed to facilitate it. It's designed to protect them, insulate them while they engage in corruption. And the only person that has the ability and the willingness to speak out and prove it and prosecute it is myself. And the entity is acting against that. Let me be clear. This is not a numbers game. That's a fool that engaged in that conduct. This will go on the podcast. This is added evidence. I have not made up anything. I don't have to make up anything. This is the type of foolishness that's going to result in what are these sorts of baboons being removed from law enforcement and the like. Okay? Let me go ahead and let you listen, because this is exactly what they did the moment that I fell asleep. Like I said, I don't have to make up anything. And the entity is engaging in what is an admission to gang stalking on May 29, 2025. Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook are going to federal prison. This is an engineered light. That's audible activity, relevant positioning, and stalking from place to place. P.O.C. It's 12:16 a.m. The Ontario Police are stalking in the path at the parking garage at Transit and Plum. They're stalking in the path while planes and helicopters are flying over me. And the Ontario Police Department, that is obsessed with my vagina, is obsessed with me, stalking me everywhere that I go, are engaged in what are flying over me at the moment that I fall asleep. Now just flying in a straight line past when I am in a sleep state and I'm not holding my phone, flying in a circle, repeatedly pacing over me, and the moment that I reach for my phone, flying off. Now when I'm in custody of my phone and recording as though they are rebutting what it is that I've just stated, that they are trying to avoid being documented. No, they just engaged in an admission that they're gang stalking. It's the specific environment. They're always stalking. This is surveillance. They're not engaging in anything but surveillance. That's the whole purpose of what I'm exposing to you. And in addition, they're engaging in what is different, because they engaged in what is flying in circles. And now when the cowards know that I'm recording, they're engaging in gang stalking while it's being recorded, but doing so in a less enthusiastic manner. They just flew over. But when I don't have my phone in my hand, they did a couple laps, and then they flew away when I reached for my phone. Those are the cowards that engaged in federal stalking and didn't want those videos published tonight about them following me, gang stalking me by helicopter while I'm uploading the details of this kidnapping by this department. Very foolish defendants. If you are engaged in that sort of conduct and those allegations, and I want to be clear, for them to openly engage in gang stalking is not evidence, is not behavior that is suggesting that they're innocent of the allegations. The evidence proves that they're guilty of the allegations. It is just imprudent. And clearly there is nobody with any level of sense with regard to how do you deal with this level of exposure, because it's never happened before. And if they had any sense, they would remain out of what is a position for me to capture what are unprecedented conduct. And if it's not that, then you should be doing nothing that even looks remotely close to it. But it is that. And they're doing way more than a little bit of what they're doing, everything that I have alleged. It's a whole pattern of conduct that they're engaging in. And the reason why they're continuing in it is because they are psychopaths. All right. They've engaged in getting away with kidnapping one too many people, engaged in ruining the lives and threatening and intimidating one too many people. They've gotten away with killing, that is murdering one too many people. They don't even know when this is probably a good opportunity to stop now before there is no avoiding the consequences for it. That boat has long passed. It flew into the middle of, it sailed into the middle of the river and it blew up. There's no going back. They are going to be prosecuted and disbanded. But this is showing the psychopaths that are the Ontario Police Department. And this is under the corrupt leadership of this demon, Derek Williams, and the absence of a coincidence that is still happening under this demon, Mike Lorenz. It's the same exact P.O.C. And the entity is again pacing over me again, where I have double shadows. At the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, documented the sunrise and the sunset here. Gang stalking in the middle of the night, flying directly over my head. P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C., and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is what I'm documenting on podcast. This is where the Ontario Police are targeting by flying directly, and it's targeting based on the maintenance of the specific environment. There's the fake moon, and they are flying in what is engineer light. It's audible activity, relevant positioning, and they're pacing while they fly over me back and forth, then back and forth, then back and forth, and back and forth. All right, they are gang stalking, just like they are at every other location where I'm documenting, including when I'm in the facilitating venues of Woodside Senior Apartments, of Starbucks, of the Ovid Family Community Library, including when I am merely walking down the street and the demons keep a fake sun over my head, and at nightfall a fake moon, speaking to the crime scene where the people of the state are doing nothing other than pacing all around me, just like the demons of the Ontario Police Department are pacing above me, waiting until the moment that I fell asleep in order to engage in flying in circles above me. And the moment that I reach for my phone, cease to engage in that. And now that I'm documenting on my podcast right now, and this is going to coincide with that audio, I'm going to include this video on the podcast because I immediately switched to video so that you can see them flying right over me. I am the target. And the specific environment proves that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 12:20 a.m. This is, again, Nathan Morgan. He's going to federal prison. He was gang stalking on May 29th, and that's when he engaged in a kidnapping pursuant to gang stalking. And so is B. Hook. He's going to federal prison. He engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring and committed kidnapping while engaging in gang stalking, and you're going to federal prison for that. So is Elle Martinez. She is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and she engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025, while she was engaged in gang stalking as a police officer in a position that she's unfit to be in. She's going to be removed from it. She's also going to federal prison. And so is C. Torres, who signed his name on paperwork that was asserting malicious charges while this gang stalking police department knew very well that there was no physical violence committed by myself, and they engaged in he engaged in a kidnapping and criminal defamation and the criminal allegation of false assertions that he knows to be false. And it's not going to be a controversy whether that's the truth or not. The fact of gang stalking, which this department is already surrounded with the evidence of, he's going to federal prison, and he committed kidnapping upon gang stalking as a police officer. And the department is still providing evidence against those demons who are going to federal prison in particular, but it's more than them. They're going to federal prison, though. It's currently 12:21 a.m. This is the evidence against the state of California, and it's specifically the evidence against the Ontario Police Department, who's going to be disbanded. Those officers that engaged in kidnapping with Tracy Banks, they're all going to federal prison. They were gang stalking then, and they are gang stalking right now. This is P.O.C. All right, coming in and doing surveillance for Ontario PD, 8TVB338.
These demons are, the Starbucks is engaging in surveillance, period. You'll see the fake sun not over 706 West Holt, that Starbucks where I'm capturing it at before 9:42 a.m., but on video at 9:42, remaining at 9:55, remaining until after 7, where that demon working for Starbucks is providing an exposition about the demons that work for Starbucks, engaging in state surveillance, monitoring on my device, engaging in what is a temporary short-sighted objective to interfere with uploading the podcast, which I still uploaded. And then I also got the series of images of that demon with the fake sun shining very brightly through that Starbucks window after 7 p.m. in the evening while she paced and her shadow moved into the depths of that Starbucks. The entity has the fake sun over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue today. 8TVB338 engaging in surveillance by gang stalking, and you'll see impossible light activity pervasive into the cafe where the entity is engaging in what I've been documenting since June 3rd, where the demons are engaging. What is the more the impossible light activity, the greater the fear of the demons. That's what you're recognizing. They do that with the impossible light activity. They do that with the fake sun shining, dimming. They do that with the gang stalking tactics of the state. They're engaging in surveillance by sitting in Starbucks while the impossible light fills the venue. You'll see it on the inside. That's absolutely impossible. Starbucks is obviously gang stalking. Starbucks is obviously interested in psychological torture and gang stalking while with the intent to obstruct justice, engaging in federal stalking, while the kidnapping that the entity engaged in together, includes Starbucks, is being published on this venue of the internet. So they're sitting around coming in Starbucks, literally taking turns stalking in close proximity while impossible light is planted on the floor into the depths of the building. The fake sun is over the sidewalk. Remember, the fake sun remains visible through the drive-through window after 7:26, which I got on video before I went to the other Starbucks at 706 West Holt Boulevard yesterday. And I'm living and working in Los Angeles at this time of year at Alvarado Gardens, where LAPD is gang stalking, which is going to be, again, evidence to disband the Ontario police that engaged in kidnapping on May 29th. The people of the state that are gang stalking and engaging in this manner of what is the psychological torture of stalking with light, the more that I am publishing online, the more radical the light gets. That's relevant to harassment and terrorism that the company is going to be prosecuted for, the employees are going to be prosecuted for, the gang stalkers who are filling the venue, the government itself, including the kidnapping police, who all of these demons of various backgrounds they're all interested because they're all demons. So it doesn't matter that they're not getting a paycheck from the Ontario Police Department. It doesn't matter that the Ontario Police is not engaging in what is thanking them and holding hands. This is a demonic entity. They're targeting together. That's why they're interested in maintaining presence in the path, maintaining presence where it's obviously incriminating, where the impossible light is present, gang stalking is already present, where the fake sun is present. They're gang stalking, and they are obviously engaging in that for that very emboldened reason, and it's based on what it is I'm publishing. The mental illness is exhibited while that impossible light, the people of the state are exhibiting their mental illness while it's not hidden anymore, okay? It's also relevant to their gang stalking period. But when the light activity gets crazy, you're witnessing how crazy that they are, how maniacal that they are, how desperate, how psychopathic that they are, how obsessed with me and everything that I'm doing that they are. It's the same thing that you saw on video last night, where the Ontario Police are following me to the corner that I'm sitting at the Ovid Family Community Library. And what is it that I'm doing? Working on this very content. And this is when the Ontario Police are, again, not arriving. They're stalking all day long. That's what Starbucks at 706 West Holt Boulevard, another venue where the entity is engaging in the identical pattern of conduct, which is an environment that is irreconcilable, not natural, not possible, and not coexisting either. It is mutually exclusive, while the entity is also, don't forget about Woodside Senior Apartments, where the kidnapping occurred. The entity is engaging in what is demonstrating its ongoing stalking me and its ongoing surveillance of my documentation about the entity stalking me, and exhibiting mental illness in the form of, last night, the gang stalkers acting directly by stalking with helicopter based on their fear of my publishing details about the kidnapping. Inside of Starbucks, the people of the state engaging in what is harassment, terrorism with the possible light activity while they're sitting all around obsessively stalking, and that's exactly what's happening, as opposed to being focused on chit-chatting and socializing and enjoying their lattes, because the engineer light is pervasive, reaching into the depths of the building and also flying across the walls, while they are, again, very much fearful of what it is that I am putting on the internet, pursuant to who's going to federal prison. And it includes B. Hook, L. Martinez, C. Torres, Tracy Banks, the people that stayed at Woodside Senior Apartments, gang stalking the entire time, which is directly relevant to the kidnapping that precipitated from gang stalking at that facilitating venue, where they are going to federal prison. The entity is going to federal prison because of the ongoing terrorism that I'm subject to, while I expose the fact and document, which any American citizen shall, with regard to the government kidnapping you while they are targeting you. That's why they're going to federal prison, okay? Not just because of the kidnapping, but because of everything precipitating from gang stalking, resulting in kidnapping, and from everything that is ongoing pursuant to enforcing my rights and exposing kidnapping. They're going to prison. It is currently 9:57 a.m. That license plate, you'll see them in images. A table full of demons in the front. They are engaging what is relevant positioning. They start surrounding as I open up my website. As I start editing it, they come in and fill the seats. They sit all around. The engineer light is flying about. The fake sun begins shining. Remember, the entity was keeping the fake sun subdued over this Starbucks in particular until 11 o'clock in the morning. Specifically, 11:11 was the earliest. It was 11:31, 11:45 on video on June 4, 2025. But this is already shown. The pattern of conduct is showing the fake sun here at this Starbucks at 7 o'clock in the morning. But it's not fooling anybody. You're just documenting what the demons are doing, and it's based on what I do, what I document, what I expose about them, and what I'm doing, including my vagina being exposed, being in the private space. And these are the same sex offenders that obsess with me, and what I'm exposing, they're also obsessed with my vagina. That license plate represents third parties that have no constitutional protection. They're going to be prosecuted for surveillance on behalf of a corrupt police department that is being disbanded for repeated kidnapping. It is currently 9:58 a.m. It's June 9, 2025. You'll see Starbucks personnel pacing. The engineer light is inside of their workspace. They're gang stalking in with impunity. And there's a pattern with Starbucks as I go from one venue to the other. And you're understanding that Starbucks corporate, Starbucks the company, is engaged in domestic terrorism. You have an inevitable pattern, speaking to the absence of any coincidence. It's not just in Ontario either, all right? The demons are pacing an engineer light right now as I speak, and this is again at 9:58 a.m. This is P.O.C. Going into the bathroom is how they're pacing. They're pacing an engineer light. That's how they're stalking in the path, going behind me, loitering in relevant position, walking in and out, and that's all they're doing all day long. Loitering in relevant position by sitting in the cafe, loitering in relevant position as an entity that paces in and out of the cafe, in engineer light under a remaining fake sun for the duration of the day. And today, there is no consistent environment with regard to a natural environment where you're clearly recognizing Starbucks and Starbucks employees gang stalking, engaging in what is sexual violence, engaging in what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture, while engaging in federal stalking. The entity is doing so because there's no sun that's over 706 West Holt Boulevard that I would see out of the window facing San Antonio, or out of the front entrance in the parking lot where I'm documenting the fake sun over my head at 9:42 in the morning, where Delta Airlines is flying over me. Delta Airlines is flying over the fake sun that's over me at 706 West Holt Boulevard. Delta Airlines is not flying over 706 West Holt Boulevard, where I would see that plane flying over me. And this is, again, how you're documenting the P.O.C. that the demon possessed are engaging in. And as I document Starbucks, so a demon working for Starbucks crosses path in that engineer light. And this is the entity's impunity that's going to be prosecuted. They don't have any right to maintain a business establishment for gang stalking, nor to engage in it while they are also, remember, monitoring the documentation. Everybody that is subject to federal prison has in every regard demonstrated why federal prison is just and nothing less than that. It's 10 a.m. The entity maintaining ongoing surveillance while the evidence is being uploaded. Pay attention to that because the kidnapping is going to be published, the details about it, and the gang stalking that was happening before the kidnapping occurred on May 29, 2025, pursuant to this ongoing consistent documentation where that same kidnapping entity is documenting to date. It's being documented to date, still gang stalking to date, and that is occurring at what is today Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the people of the state, the sex offenders that surround, engage in criminal surveillance, both monitoring my vagina and also monitoring the evidence against all of them. This is the corruption, the public corruption of the state of California. And Ontario Police Department in particular is going to be disbanded. It is currently 10:01 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, this is impossible light activity. That's a sex offender that is so obsessed with me they cannot avoid 1 second of not being able to pace around me. And this is relevant to the sex offense where the demon possessed who drive by and impossible light flies inside of here while they're obsessively stalking. This demon, a sex offender, stalking in the path by parking on the sidewalk. The fake sun's over the same venue where it was as of 9 o'clock in the morning, where you saw that engineer light that's on the same sidewalk was on the inside of the Starbucks. This is not sunlight, neither is that sunlight that was inside on the floor this morning or is covering the property outside. This is stalking in the path, and a sex offender comes in, paces in engineer light, turns on the dryer, turns on the water, walks in and out, knows that I'm in the bathroom, knows what I'm doing in the bathroom. They're engaged in ongoing monitoring. These are demons, and they're doing so in a specific environment replete with what is impossible light activity. This is Starbucks is going to be prosecuted as a domestic terrorist, engaged in psychological torture and sexual violence. Engaging in the light activity right now while the sex offenders are monitoring my vagina. 9SYY644, sex offender. License 1547240, California exempt sex offender. That's license A672A1, sex offenders monitoring my vagina together as a city that committed a kidnapping, by the way, as well. So let me show you the fake sun that's over the venue at 507 North Euclid Avenue. While it's here at what is 7 o'clock in the evening, seen through the drive-through window, like I documented. This is called crossing path by this demon that's turning on the Euclid, crossing path with me under what is a fake sun, recognizing stalking. Never driving outside, is that going to create light in that hallway outside of that bathroom? AWRS 361 is a sex offender. And this sex offender gets in position to cross path with me while another sex offender is inside pacing around in engineer light in that bathroom. They're all in engineer light, drinking coffee, ordering coffee, buying coffee. They're all in engineer light, driving around, pacing around me. And the fact of that is the fake sun that's over me. Remember, today in 2024, the fake sun is over me like I'm documenting during the 3 p.m. hour. It's impossible to be the natural environment where this is where the fake sun is going to remain pursuant to the pattern of conduct. And the natural environment dictates that the LAPD could not possibly be merely engaged in what is minding their business and law enforcement when the pattern of conduct is speaking to the specific environment where the fake sun that cannot be over 507 North Euclid Avenue, could not be over like it was yesterday, 706 West Hope Boulevard, will never create what is your shadow when you're standing inside of a building and there's no sunlight, will never create what is sunlight ricocheting off of vehicles when they're driving by you, under what is an idle light source that remains for the duration of the day, remaining for the duration of the day over a series of other venues, including Woodside Senior Apartments, where this sex offender, this entity, committed kidnapping on May 29, 2025. Engaging in sexual violence is pursuant to the obsession with my vagina, the obsessive engagement in monitoring me, and also the entity that engages in such sexual violence and psychological torture tactics while I'm publishing the details of the kidnapping. That's Starbucks. The entity that's gang stalking me, engaged in together as one. All right, this is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging what is keeping a fake sun over Starbucks, and this is where it's at, by the way, at 4 o'clock, where Raquel is gang stalking. Raquel is the lead that's still in the venue today, gang stalking with the people of the state. You're looking at what is the seamless and convenient means of state surveillance, and it's satanic in nature. They're monitoring while they're moving their vehicles. They're monitoring while they have their vehicle lights on, the hazard lights on. They're monitoring while they're making money off of gang stalking in the United States. Arco, Chevron, these businesses, Starbucks, medical facilities like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center and Unicare Community. The entity is keeping the fake sun not over the Ovid Family Community Library either, by the way. The entity is maintaining this in a position that is impossible to be anywhere over Alvarado Gardens, where it is seen outside of my bedroom window during the 3 p.m. hour today in 2024. This is the prosecution of the state of California that committed kidnapping in order to obstruct justice and stop me from exposing the government that's engaging with criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder and kidnapping. This is P.O.C. It's currently 1:37 p.m. The fake sun's been over this same exact environment where you'll see I'm standing at the same entrance at 9 o'clock in the morning. All right, the video you just listened to is documentation of the fake sun remaining stationary over 507 North Euclid Avenue, which is distinct from and not coexisting, not happening at the same time, being over the building proper, seen through the windows of the Starbucks, and never under any circumstances being over any venue is sunlight creating what Starbucks, the demons, both the patrons and the employees engage in both of the venues with this impossible light activity, speaking to criminal surveillance and identifying the fact that I'm being targeted while a fake sun remains over me at every venue that I'm documenting. License 7CRP164, bathroom monitoring, 9PLV219, bathroom monitoring, ongoing loitering in the path, monitoring my vagina, this Caucasian woman with a demon on her, 9FYK601. And it's currently 1:39 p.m. You'll see her in images, gang stalking, sitting at the table in relevant position, staring at me for hours. 22155N3, 9RJT217, 8SMX894, JTS 9919, that's Texas, 8TDP779, license 7NDK474, B475JO. And the entity is maintaining the fake sun over Starbucks again at 507 North Euclid Avenue. As you hear the train, that's the demons monitoring. The demon possessed are maintaining an environment around me so that they can all monitor. License 9LGJ325 while purchasing a drink from the gang stalker Starbucks. 7ZDZ840, the same analysis. Arizona plate CM61207 and 76530H3. The entity is sounding train activity while an idle sun is sitting over the same address that it is after 7 p.m. That's speaking to the audible activity creation as opposed to audible noise that's just coincidentally happening under an idle fake sun and amongst light that flies in the air. It's monitoring and it's demonic. 9PLV219 is a demon, and they're also a domestic terrorist, and they're a violent sex offender monitoring a black woman's vagina. That's what you need to know about them. License plate DFMY217 8CIE826. Pacing in and out the driveway 40461B2. 9JPN484 6WHH366 8EWF035. And the fake sun moves from being over Starbucks as I walk across the street. 7JJW538, pacing with license 69498M2. Demons stalking all over while the fake sun moves as I move. And the demons are crossing path in opposite directions. They're pacing. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:41 p.m. The demons that are going to federal prison for kidnapping while they're engaging in this pattern of conduct, a part of the Ontario Police Department that is going to be disbanded. This is B. Hook, who's going to federal prison. Nathan Morgan's going to federal prison. L. Martinez is going to federal prison. And C. Torres is going to federal prison. The entity that is gang stalking with Woodside Senior Apartments, all of them in units 33 through 64, are going to federal prison for gang stalking in the same manner that Starbucks is. Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, maintaining a fake sun that is idle over me inside of that building until the moment that I move, which is not the natural environment. And this is the exact pattern of conduct that LAPD, the city of Los Angeles, the same demon-possessed entity, the corrupt entity that is gang stalking me. License 96180Z1, 8MVK088. This is P.O.C. They're going to federal prison with regard to Tracy Banks engaging in criminal summoning with the entity on May 29, 2025, pursuant to malicious assertions. Not just false, but malicious, because they're gang stalking. And so it's not only that the Tracy Banks is lying, but the Ontario Police Department are lying as well because they're gang stalking together. 8LAG196, surveillance by sitting in relevant position outside of the Starbucks, 2 Latino males. An AWRS361 just sitting in relevant position, engaging in surveillance while I walk around, and the fake sun moves back to the entrance where I'm standing. And then when I arrive back to the front door, this obsessive sex offender who is worthy of a federal prosecution that he's going to get, he looks to be about 15 and a half. This little sex offender belongs in what is a federal prison cell with a sex offender, a record as a sex offender. They're engaging in what is molestation, terrorism with impossible light activity inside of Starbucks. These are the people of the state that are going to be diagnosed with mental illness. When they seek to try to kidnap the target individual and falsely depict their character, they're going to be diagnosed and prosecuted. 6TSW725 and 6CKM1J2. That little bucket, 6CKM112, is also creating audible activity while she drives a little putt-putt crossing path. It's 1:43 p.m. This is P.O.C. Good afternoon. Yes, hi. How are you doing today? Good, how are you? Good. Did you guys get me?
Yeah, because it wasn't selling very well, so they took it out.
All right, it's 1:44 p.m. Lisa Chu's group stalking. She's crossing path, walking in engineered light that's currently on my ceiling inside of my bedroom. And the light source is above my apartment window right now, literally directly above my window, where LAPD engaging in demonic activity with the people of the state, crossing path on Alvarado, crossing path again on Alvarado. That's demonic pacing, and they're flying directly over me while they're listening to what I'm talking about inside of my apartment, or what it is that I'm documenting inside of my apartment. That's the sex offense that the state's engaging in the sex offense in concert with the people that are pacing in engineered light. That's not sunlight, nor is the sun ever directly over this apartment building, over this apartment complex, which is filled with third-party group stalkers. These are terrorists, including Lisa Chu, who's going to federal prison, including Roger Chu. They're both going to be deported after they go to federal prison. They're acting and exhibiting malice and impunity still to date on June 9, 2024, engaging in terrorism with the state of California, who was pacing up Alvarado Street. That's P.O.C. right there. That's a sex offense. The engineered light that's above my head so that you can be sure. The pattern of conduct is consistent and ceaseless. Acting in concert, driving onto the property. That's Choi. He's going to federal prison, and then he's going to be deported out of this country. Another terrorist that's been granted citizenship, unworthy of remaining here. Engineered light, moving across the venue that lives directly across the street, just like 1826, who's going to be prosecuted. The entity engaged in what is the pattern of conduct. Remember, the entity is doing so while they are aware of the fact that they're being documented. At 3:49 p.m., engineer light moving across this venue right here. Facilitating venue in perfect alignment, moving across this venue right here is documentation of what is the people of the state. The entire population is group stalking. That's why I have a wealth of documentation showing that criminal system underway. Lisa Chu's going to federal prison. She's just in the parking lot for purposes of crossing path at the same time that the terrorists that are the LAPD and illegitimate, lacking any authority, they're engaged in a criminal enterprise in the state of California, and they're going to be disbanded. They're engaged in a sex offense, monitoring me inside of my private space, doing so with real-time knowledge of what it is that's underway, being documented inside of my apartment, while engineered light is on my ceiling. So I want you to see this light that's appearing at a distance. I've got more than one shadow here. There is no sunlight that Lisa Chu is driving in. You're looking at the pattern, the shadow of the surface that's appearing above, and the light source again. You're looking at the light source that has no connection whatsoever with the engineered light that's on my ceiling. Nor are they walking in sunlight or driving in sunlight, nor is sunlight ricocheting off of the demons' vehicles that are pacing up and down Alvarado. All right, they're engaging in what is ongoing concerted conduct of a demonic nature, and they're engaging in what is terrorism and a sexually violent one while they're monitoring someone who is inside of a private space, maintaining 24-hour surveillance for no legitimate purpose. This is what the government in California is engaging in, by the way, that shall be prosecuted as an exceedingly violent and very highly demented sex offense. P.O.C. P.O.C. All right, documented what is the massive sex offense that the people of the state are engaging in, while each and every demon that crossed path in concert with LAPD at 5:27 p.m. Every license plate red is going to federal prison. That represents the people of the state. And those demons that were driving by under the light source that was still over me after 5 p.m. in the afternoon, which is never going to be the sun because I'm at that same entrance at 9:37 in the morning. That's how you know what that third party is doing. They're doing so with impunity and demonstrating their demon possession at the same time, while engineered light moves all across the sidewalk and moves all across the third-party vehicles that are parked along Alvarado, while they are indeed engaging in what is terrorism in my face, and I document it on video, and every single last one of them are going to federal prison. Okay, they're acting with the state that's providing evidence against them as well. All 59 units and all the people of the state that live in relevant position, all right, that are engaging what is pacing on Alvarado in relevant position, coming onto the grounds, on and off of the property, engaging in group stalking, and while the entity is group stalking in helicopter. While engineered light is appearing on my ceiling. None of this is sunlight. This is speaking to the criminal system. This is terrorism in the U.S. and is going to be prosecuted as a sex offense, which is what group stalking is, while a corrupt law enforcement agency, which is actually a terrorist organization, is being exposed and simultaneously prosecuted at the same time. It is literally the tutorial for what is demonic activity. It is currently, again, 3:52 p.m. Okay, that's P.O.C. And while the people of the state just come onto the grounds to act with ongoing impunity, with real-time knowledge, remember, federal stalking in violation of Title 18 is also underway. In other words, this demonic entity, this corrupt entity, is also engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet, and that is also exhibited through their criminal conduct, the moment at which, in other words, that they engage in also the elements of monitoring, which is demonic. They do so with real-time knowledge of everything that's being documented against them about their criminal system. And that's going to be used against the entity as well. While a third party drives onto the grounds, they're acting in concert with all of those that live on the property, and all of them are going to federal prison for that. Okay, while their partner flies over in helicopter, they're all going to federal prison for that. While their partner drives up and down Alvarado, they're all going to federal prison for that. While their partner drives onto the grounds of Silverview Townhomes in relevant position, they're all going to federal prison for that. While they drive into the property, onto the grounds of the parking lot, they're all going to federal prison for that. While the entity is repeatedly sounding helicopter activity, acting with impunity, they're all going to federal prison for that. Because those are the elements of monitoring you're looking at. And that's pacing while another one drives up Alvarado. And this is ongoing impunity that you're looking at on an ongoing basis. They are simultaneously revealing their mental illness. Only a psychopath would provide evidence to the prosecutor who's going to use this body of evidence against the whole entity in federal court before a federal judge, and the federal judge is witnessing barefaced malice and impunity that the state and the people of the state are simultaneously exhibiting. Okay, so I just want to make sure you're understanding. Not only do you see the P.O.C, I know you understand that. I want to make sure that it is reasonably construed and articulated in the very evidence that I'm capturing, the malice and impunity that the entity exhibits while it is obsessively maintaining the elements of monitoring, and the psychopaths know that they're being documented. That level of malice is worthy with regard to the enhancement of federal charges and sentencing. It is currently 3:54 p.m. It's Sunday, June 9th, 2024. This is P.O.C. with regard to what is also a sex offense. Sex offenders are going to be removed from minor children. Sex offenders are going to be listed and maintained as those terrorists and sex offenders by the Department of Justice, including those sex offenders that act by company logos and company names. There will be no difference of treatment, because this is how the government does so. And since if you want to use a company name to engage in a sex offense, to engage in terrorism, by all means, that company name and those employees affiliated with that company will be specifically identified and prosecuted based on the facts and circumstances as they apply. All right, the light source is directly over my apartment. This is exactly where the light source remains after 7 p.m., as though the sun would ever be present in alignment. To me, that's within the pattern of conduct, and that's how you're also recognizing targeting, while the entity is stalking by helicopter, okay? That's the state engaging in the sex offense. P.O.C. All right, it is currently Monday, June 9, 2025. It's 4:11 p.m. This is a screen recording regarding the video that I captured shortly ago about what's happening on the same day at the same time a year ago with regard to the prosecution of the United States government, as I remain in the state of California, subject to what is criminal surveillance. And it is encapsulated within what is a targeting system where surveillance is underway. And that is established for everyone in the country to understand, because of the significance of the environment that has been documented, in order to understand that it is defying nature. Not only the light source itself, which is remaining idle over me, and based on the exclusivity of the sun, that is speaking that it is not possible under any circumstances that there is only one sun, while the one sun that I'm documenting then would be remaining over one building, which is also not possible because that's not how the sun behaves. So there's necessarily a light source that is outside of what is remaining above me as I document it on a day-to-day basis, which is speaking to the specific environment that you are, whoever you are, wherever you are at in the United States, subject to the same surveillance. And it is inherent to the environment, which is not natural. You are witnessing how I am exposing that it is entirely unnatural. It is actually demonic, the surveillance system, and the fact that the surveillance system is premised upon what is the maintenance of an illusion. That illusion is in the form of being under the impression that you're in a natural environment, including the sun and sunlight, etc. And actually, upon documentation, which is the P.O.C, as I've documented, because of the targeting that I'm subject to in the environment that I've documented in order to prosecute, to prove that, it is exposing what everyone in this country is subject to, which is in an environment that is supernatural. It is demonic with regard to what is surveillance, and it is government conduct which makes it criminal, unconstitutional, that which American citizens have not consented to. Neither have we consented to American citizens in this country keeping us under surveillance in concert with that government through the system of what is gang stalking, and it's happening via businesses such as Starbucks, such as Avanath Capital Management and apartment complex, such as speaker companies Alvarado Gardens, where I'm remaining in Los Angeles on this day in 2024, such as any other venue where I've documented that pattern of conduct remaining underway, any and everywhere. In other words, there's no exception, and there is no moment in time where the pattern of conduct is not underway, meaning surveillance is ceaseless. And amongst the surveillance system is a targeting system with regard to gang stalking, and it is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring. Now, the entity is maintaining activity now. Starbucks is a fully exposed domestic terrorist, a violent sex offender, and is providing a wealth of evidence with regard to its true stature toward American citizens who enforce their rights like myself. They are enemies to the United States. The business itself hates American citizens, especially American citizens that are aware of the satanic means of surveillance that Starbucks is profiting from, and Starbucks is facilitating it, and Starbucks engages in what is psychological torture, harassment, terrorism, and sexual violence as a business, and as those that are acting in concert with those government actors, both directly and vicariously, as it is exposed. And that's exactly what my evidence demonstrates as well. So that's activity that you hear with regard to monitoring me. Even while I'm prosecuting Starbucks, I'm prosecuting the government simultaneously. What it is that is documented on this day in 2024, where I'm at this venue where the fake sun necessarily is remaining, meaning necessarily not the natural environment. So this is an extra light source that's remaining over me everywhere that I travel, everywhere that I go, and wherever I remain. And that's also how you're identifying what is the targeting system and those who are engaging in that targeting. And then you're able to study the behavioral patterns of those who are exposed as mentally deranged, psychopathic, and antisocial, targeting an American citizen in ways in which are not supposed to be capable of being discerned or suspected, but it is in every regard very obvious. As their mental illness is more and more clearly exhibited, the more probative the documentation, the more damning, the more closer the consequences are, the more spectacular that is demonic, that is terrorizing, that is psychologically harmful, the light activity becomes, the stalking tactics become, with regard to the government acting directly and the people of the state acting vicariously, such as having children engaging in the demonic pacing with regard to psychological torture and monitoring you, especially when you document such tactics, and the government gang stalking you through police departments who follow you around from place to place in helicopters in that specific environment. So this is what I'm subject to on June 9, 2024, where I'm capturing the fake sun outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles, and common sense dictates and science cannot defy or resist what is the fact that the sun is not outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles, where I'm facing Alvarado Street at the same exact time 365 days ago, while I'm remaining today, June 9th, since the morning, 9 a.m., never leaving this building, and the sun has been remaining over this building, which is in Starbucks in Ontario, California. And that's not even getting into the contradiction regarding what I documented yesterday and what I documented on June 6, 2025, when I went on Hope Boulevard to the San Bernardino TAD office, and what I was documenting from September into what is May of 2025, September 2024 through May of 2025, which was the sunrise and set at Woodside Senior Apartments. And then that all precedes what is the sunrise and the sunset at this very address that I'm using to juxtapose with this current crime scene, Starbucks in Ontario, where in Los Angeles, the LAPD were gang stalking me just like the Ontario PD is gang stalking the government, the state. In concert with the people of the state in that specific environment, where in Los Angeles, in my apartment, I documented the sunrise and the sunset. And at 3:48 p.m., the sun is outside of my bedroom window, while I am at the same time a year later, with regard to same time of year in a natural environment, the natural environment is going to behave in a substantially similar manner. And it does not include being over Ontario's Starbucks at Euclid and D Street, and also remaining outside of my bedroom window. There's no possible way that I would ever be able to see that, and I certainly wouldn't see it at the close proximity that I do. Not only that, the light sources that you see outside of my bedroom window and that you see over Starbucks are not the cause. It is impossible that they are the cause for the light activity that you see inside of Starbucks and the light activity that you see inside of my bedroom. It is recognizing the demonic pattern of conduct and recognizing the system of monitoring, however, and that's the significance of this video. I am going to start reviewing the video comparing the two crime scenes now. All right, at the top you see what is documented on June 9, 2024 at 3:48 p.m. And I started the video today where I'm located at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where I've been since this morning as a matter of documentation as well, capturing the maintenance. And that's why you document it, because it is supernatural and because it is that which defies what the normal person is accustomed to. The demon-possessed, those who practice witchcraft, those who work in illusions in order to target another person who is subject to conduct and behavior by people who are engaging in what is the necessity of illusions, in order that the ordinary targeted individual cannot prove what they are being targeted by. And that is leading to what is criminal defamation. So this is built into the pattern of conduct. I want to be clear, the entity that has engaged in criminal defamation against myself has not engaged in criminal defamation that is suggesting that I'm imagining things or hallucinating. The entity does not have any sort of material. The entity engages in criminal defamation by asserting criminal conduct that I've never engaged in, that they don't have the facts to support. They literally manufacture it. The entity has engaged in criminal defamation in the form of manufacturing mental illness just based upon the allegations by the same gang stalkers who are actually mentally ill, and they're hostile to being documented. And the evidence of their criminal conduct is under no circumstances reflection of the mental illness or the mental health whatsoever. In fact, it's demonstrating a pristine level of mental health when you are documenting this level of what is a supernatural and a disconcerting pattern of conduct that's designed to target someone. It's speaking to the exact opposite of what the demon-possessed would like to allege against the target individual, that does not have the arsenal, that doesn't have the weaponry, that doesn't have the equipment to prove what the entity is engaging in and how the entity is engaging in it. And that is nothing other than bullying by the government and bullying by the demon-possessed. This is the work of Satan, but it is criminal, and the government's going to be prosecuted and exposed for it. The video at the top is exposing what is happening at the same time in 2024. The video at the bottom is here in Starbucks in Ontario, California, where I will show you this specific environment. So we're going to look at what happened on this day in 2024 at the same time in my bedroom, which is the private space, which is the sex offense that the government is engaging in. I'm subject to the same pattern of conduct right now at a third-party facilitating venue, which is a not my private space, but the bathroom at Starbucks is a private space where they are monitoring. It is the same sex offense that the government will be prosecuted for. Starbucks is not a private company. Starbucks is a facilitating venue and will be prosecuted in the shoes of the state. Group stalking. She's crossing path, walking an engineered light that's currently on my ceiling inside of my bedroom, and the light source is above my apartment window right now, literally directly above my window, where LAPD engaging in demonic activity with the people of the state. Crossing path on Alvarado, crossing path again on Alvarado. That's demonic pacing, and they're flying directly over me while they're listening to what I'm talking about inside of my apartment, or what it is that I'm documenting inside of my apartment. That's the sex offense that the state's engaging in the sex offense in concert with the people that are pacing an engineered light. That's not sunlight, nor is the sun ever directly over this apartment building, over this apartment complex, which is filled with third-party group stalkers. These are terrorists, including Lisa Chu, who's going to federal prison, including Roger Chu. They're both going to be deported after they go to federal prison. They're acting and exhibiting malice and impunity still to date on June 9, 2024, engaging in terrorism with the state of California, who was pacing up Alvarado Street. That's P.O.C. right there. That's a sex offense. The engineered light that's above my head so that you can be sure. The pattern of conduct is consistent and ceaseless. Acting in concert, driving onto the property. That's Choi. He's going to federal prison, and then he's going to be deported out of this country. Another terrorist that's been granted citizenship, unworthy of remaining here. Engineered light, moving across the venue that lives directly across the street, just like 1826. Who's going to be prosecuted. The entity engaged in what is the pattern of conduct. Remember, the entity is doing so while they are aware of the fact that they're being documented. At 3:49 p.m., engineer light moving across this venue right here. Facilitating venue in perfect alignment, moving across this venue right here is documentation of what is the people of the state. The entire population is group stalking. That's why I have a wealth of documentation showing that criminal system underway. Lisa Chu is going to federal prison. She's just in the parking lot for purposes of crossing path at the same time that the terrorists that are the LAPD and illegitimate, lacking any authority. They're engaged in a criminal enterprise in the state of California, and they're going to be disbanded. They're engaged in a sex offense, monitoring me inside of my private space, doing so with real-time knowledge of what it is that's underway, being documented inside of my apartment, while engineered light is on my ceiling. So I want you to see this light that's appearing at a distance. I've got more than one shadow here. There is no sunlight that Lisa Chu is driving in. You're looking at the pattern, the shadow of the surface that's appearing above, and the light source again. You're looking at the light source that has no connection whatsoever. All right, this is showing you what is maintaining this zenith presence over my head at the same time on the same day. And when I am in Ontario, California at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and when I'm in Los Angeles at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, Los Angeles, California 90026. This is entirely demonic, what you're looking at right here, and this is speaking to the supernatural. That's with regard to the demonic. It is not the natural environment. It is where you are identifying, you are able to witness what it is that the ordinary target individual is typically not able to prove when they make allegations such as strangers are following them, such as, now not stating that there are not those that are not genuinely imagining things that they have no evidence to support, but the absence of evidence is not evidence of mental illness. The entity is engaging in what is targeting American citizens, and doing so in demonic means, doing so in supernatural means, doing so in psychopathic means, and it is that which is outside of the ordinary understanding. This is not discussed in science class. This is not discussed by NASA. This has not been spoken of with regard to social media. This is the entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct, and it is referred to as a specific environment which defies nature. It is also not possibly the cause of the light that is on my ceiling on the inside of my bedroom. This is the pattern of conduct where you are witnessing stalking with light, as I'm subject to it inside of Starbucks as well. This is what the demon possessed are engaging in routinely with impunity, showing their demon possession, showing their malice, showing their aggression, showing their hostility while that terrorizing environment remains around you. In the same manner, let me show you this to remind you what you were looking at.
Swiping across the seats, the wall, the ceiling, onto the opposite end, having the dancing light. I documented all of this. The entity is monitoring, and it's relevant to the hostility. Hostility is legally analyzed with regard to the demon possessed, who use methods of witchcraft. They use black magic. They use the use of illusions such as the sun, which is actually idle over one address all day long, and it's not the natural environment, to target someone. And this is a specific environment where I'm being gang stalked while I'm at the same time publishing the evidence about the kidnapping that this entity committed. Okay, Tracy Banks acts as the entity at Woodside Senior Apartments as a facilitating venue where the entity was gang stalking, evident through the maintenance of the fake sun over me, which at the same time is at no point going to be over this building like it is right now, where the people of the state are gang stalking inside of the venue. 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is documented, as you'll see on the Google Drive.
Alright, so this is engineered light that is swiping across the walls. If you're paying attention to that, it's white light that is moving, and you're looking at the passive aggressive behavior of those who are gang stalking.
9 a.m. hour, so that's...
They're sitting there monitoring, pacing, because that's what's happening in engineered light when you're being monitored. All they're doing is pacing all around you. These are the demon possessed. And everything that they are doing physically and audibly, they're doing it pursuant to what the targeted individual is doing. It is literally about that person who is targeted, which is evident in that specific environment where the sun is over my apartment in Los Angeles and over me in Starbucks in Ontario at the same time on the same day. And it is replete with what is light activity that is totally separate and distinct from that sun, where the entity is failing in its illusion because sunlight is not going to have light shooting from vehicles outside of the building or creating a web of light in the corner of your bedroom on a third floor apartment in Los Angeles where the sun is outside of the window. This is the entity that is stalking with light. This light is integral with regard to surveillance. And it is entirely terrorizing while the entity is stalking you with light, molesting you with light, harassing you with light, and doing more of it while you document it. This is what this third party is doing with minor children right here.
Now that's just context regarding domestic terrorists that are bringing in children to engage in satanic behavior designed to monitor an American citizen, and they do so with knowledge that it's being documented. And pay attention to the impossible light activity because it's directly relevant to the maintenance of a fake sun. That is not possibly not the cause of what is simultaneous presence path, relevant positioning, and impossible light activity. Both stationary on the wall with a drive-through window, and then also dynamic, where they're all monitoring, and they're doing so by virtue of presence. So being in
So that is the environment where you're looking at stalking with light. This is crucial with regard to understanding criminal surveillance on communication devices by the people of the state that are vicariously acting with the government that is engaging in criminal monitoring in this country. And it is that which the government is doing in reliance on the people of the state who are the same condition. These are demons. And this is demonic. What they're doing with light, it's demonic with regard to the environment that they're maintaining presence in. And it's also demonic the way that they conduct themselves as though nothing is happening. That's very demented. It's also highly malicious. And it's very unpersuasive, and it's totally unnatural. It is incriminating, and the entity sought that it was going to, intended that it would make the target individual look weird. No, they all look weird and sick while they're in this environment, and they are acting like it's not there. That is speaking to what is the pattern of conduct with regard to stalking by strangers, stalking by the entity that is engaging in that P.O.C. As a matter of a government system. It is entirely suspicious. It's not innocent whatsoever. In addition to that, you're looking at what is the light activity. You'll remember the wall of light that was also on the bathroom wall today with regard to what's in my bedroom on the ceiling. This is what's on the wall here in Starbucks.
light activity. It's a sex offender that
when they're monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom.
This is impossible.
That's impossible light activity. This is what's in my bedroom on the ceiling.
Pattern, the shadow of the surface that's appearing above, and the light source again. You're looking at the light source that has no connection whatsoever with the engineered light that's on my ceiling. Nor are they walking in sunlight or driving in sunlight, nor is sunlight ricocheting off of the demons' vehicles that are pacing up and down Alvarado. All right, they're engaging in what is ongoing concerted conduct of a demonic nature, and they're engaging in what is terrorism and a sexually violent one while they're monitoring someone who is inside of a private space, maintaining 24-hour surveillance for no legitimate purpose. This is what the government in California is engaging in, by the way, that shall be prosecuted as an exceedingly violent and very highly demented sex offense. P.O.C. P.O.C. All right, documented what is the massive sex offense that the people of the state are engaging in, while each and every demon that crossed path in concert with LAPD at 5:27 p.m. Every license plate red is going to federal prison. That represents the people of the state, and those demons that were driving by under the light source that was still over me after 5 p.m. in the afternoon, which is never going to be the sun, because I'm at that same entrance at 9:37 in the morning. That's how you know what that third party is doing. They're doing so with impunity and demonstrating their demon possession at the same time, while engineered light moves all across the sidewalk and moves all across the third-party vehicles that are parked along Alvarado, while they are indeed engaging in what is terrorism in my face. And
So in other words, the maintenance of the specific environment in this way, that is revealing stalking, and stalking by a group. It is group stalking, and it's government conduct. The government is gang stalking as well, and that's the significance of the helicopters following me around from place to place in an environment that is entirely supernatural. It is the pattern of conduct that the Los Angeles Police Department and the Ontario Police Department share. The Ontario Police Department has committed several kidnappings, the latest being committed on May 29, 2025 until June 3, 2025, and I remain subject to this pattern of conduct, which is why the Ontario police officers gang stalking and committing kidnapping are subject to federal prison. The entity was maintaining this light source over Woodside Senior Apartments, which I documented. This is a grand departure from it, and it is under no circumstances going to be shared with that which is the sun outside of my bedroom window, creating this method of light activity, speaking to monitoring. That is gang stalking, and what is a light source, which is identifying gang stalking. That's speaking to everybody that is monitoring in that environment, everyone, no exception. The entity is maintaining this environment, and I want you to see this light source that is hunkered down outside of my bedroom window, which is not over the roof in a natural environment of Starbucks at the same time. And this is what the entity is engaging in while targeting me, and this is a clear means of identifying targeting, in the same way that the police departments clearly shown to be targeting in that environment when using helicopters, also engaging what is traditional stalking as they follow me around from place to place, and targeting while they engage in what are waging false allegations as a pattern in concert with the people of the state engaging in that targeting system. So this is where the entity is maintaining this specific environment, and I want to show you what is
that is not outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles. The entity is gang stalking by evidence of that specific environment, which defies nature. The entity is honking their horns with regard to activity creation. The traffic lights and everything happening at this intersection where they're pacing all around me is pursuant to what I'm doing as I'm doing it. The Ontario International Airport flying over where the fake sun is sitting idle. The city of Ontario is engaged in gang stalking, like the city of Los Angeles is on this day, evident by the amplified helicopter activity while I'm inside of my bedroom, subject to the sex offense by the entity that's gang stalking. This impossible light activity happening inside of my bedroom as well, where you will see impossible light on the ceiling inside of my bedroom, where that is never the product of the sun. Neither is the sun mutually over 507 North Euclid Avenue, nor is the sun creating any sunlight when EPINC1 drives by a building, or nor creates any sunlight on the ceiling inside of my bedroom where the entity is gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It's currently 3:52 p.m. This is relevant to that specific environment where the entity is monitoring on an ongoing basis, on a ceaseless basis, like I've been documenting. And this is the entity that is subject to federal prison, gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport that's flying over my head where I am capturing this video in a white plane with a blue underbelly. That's either United Airlines.
Alrighty, this is what I want to make sure that I hone in on. This is where the Ontario Police Department is also documented as of release from kidnapping on June 3rd, 2025. Gang stalking with the people of the state directly by helicopter, and by gang stalking at Chevron in relevant position across the street on June 4th, 2025 at 11:54 a.m. Gang stalking by crossing path in traffic with the demon possessed who are pacing with this impossible light, shooting inside a Starbucks. Ontario Police is gang stalking with the people of the state, as I've been documenting since release from kidnapping by the same corrupt terrorist organization referring to itself as a law enforcement agency. It's currently 4:34 p.m. The entity is maintaining impossible light inside of Starbucks pursuant to ongoing domestic terrorism and harassment and psychological torture, which the people of the state, corrupt businesses like Starbucks, are going to be prosecuted for, criminally and civilly, by the way. This is P.O.C. It's Monday, June 9th, 2025. This is P.O.C.